2, 1.
Hello, my name is Anita Wooten. I'm a member of our church council and of the finance committee. I'm going to provide an overview today of our the results of the recent financial audit and the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Faith's council made the decision to change the accounting period of the church from a calendar year to a fiscal year beginning March 1st, 2021. After that fiscal year ended in February of 2022, Faith Church Council made the decision to have a CPA firm perform a financial audit for the 14-month period January 1st, 2021 through February 28th, 2022 for the church and school. The 14-month period reflects the change from a calendar year to the fiscal year. They hired CS&L CPAs who have experience with auditing churches to perform the audit. The audit was the first formal audit the church had ever had performed. The audit resulted in an unqualified audit opinion. This is excellent for the church. The CPA firm commented that the audit had very few issues and that Faith's accounting system was sound using generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. As a part of the audit, they reviewed the policies and the internal controls of the church and that they had implemented. The auditors were highly complimentary of the financial records of Faith. They also stated it was really unusual to have so few issues with an organization that had never undergone an audit. The audit results shows that Faith is managing the finances of the church properly, following generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, and it confirms that Faith is a good steward of the faithful giving of our church community for the work of Jesus. The audit results are a major accomplishment for Faith finances and everyone who worked so hard to get us to this place. Janet Peterson, our treasurer, Scott Rice, vice president of council, Patty McGee, our financial secretary, Alf Kirking, Eloise Detmer, and Kay Cannon, our bookkeeper. A copy of the final audit report is available for anyone in the congregation. Please contact the office if you would like a copy. The audit required a major change in how we record capital expenditures, and that's because of GAAP. This meant that Faith needed to capitalize the assets of the church instead of expensing them. The capitalization of assets includes the church building as well as infrastructure such as equipment, air conditioners, refurbishing of the stained glass. In the current fiscal year, that would be the bathroom renovations, the new sign, carpet, and items such as this. This change requires depreciation expense of these items. Depreciation amortizes or spreads the cost of these assets over the time, and that represents the useful life of the assets. In the 14-month audit period, the depreciation expense was recorded at $93,000. Included in the depreciation expense is $88,000 of that is the building. In the current year, depreciation expense grows to approximately $108,000, and in the 23-24 fiscal year, it is estimated to be about $115,000. This is an important change for Faith to keep us on budget to properly maintain our infrastructure for the church's ongoing ministry. Again, keep in mind, comparing last year's budget to this year's budget, depreciation expense was not included in last year's budget and is of large numbers, so one needs to be aware of the significant change when reviewing the financial information today. In fiscal 22-23, another change was implemented as to how pastor support revenue is recorded to allow revenue recognition in the same year as the expense instead of when it is received. This change will still restrict the funds received to be used for pastor support, but it will allow a better matching of revenue and expense for pastor support in each year. Now that have you all glazed over with depreciation and how pastor support revenues are recorded, I'd like to move on to the 23-24 budget. The Finance Committee, with input from the Property Committee and other sources, has prepared the 23-24 budget in a fiscally responsible manner to continue to move Faith forward. A few highlights of this budget. It includes exciting new ministries for our church, such as the food pantry, senior ministry, refugee outreach ministry, and a ministry to create a hybrid church using video technology to reach people who are not able to attend church due to health, they're seasonal, or those traveling. And this will enable them to remain fully active in our church. The budget maintains strong support for our pastors, music ministry, stewardship, Christian education, and spiritual formation. As we review the 23-24 budget, as well as the estimated final income and expense for 22-23, please keep depreciation expense and the change in how pastor support revenue is recognized in mind. Changing the financial records to reflect true GAAP accounting, including recording the assets of the church, as well as better matching revenue and expense, is a huge step in a positive direction for Faith. Also, this change will help Faith have the information necessary to work towards funding the infrastructure of our church. The budget reflects operational efficiencies and takes into account the higher inflation. A new capital reserve fund is also included in this budget as a beginning to have capital reserve funds to maintain equipment and infrastructure of Faith. We can all feel the positive energies, excitement, and change as Faith moves forward in the ministry and outreach of this church for Jesus. Revenues are budgeted 8.3% lower than last year. Total operating expenditures plus capital reserve expenses are budgeted 11.9% higher than last year. However, if you remove the depreciation expense, the 23-24 expenditures are budgeted slightly less than last year by 0.02%, which is a big accomplishment. We are estimated a budget shortfall this year as was last year. However, there is a contingency reserve to cover the projected deficit. With all the positive changes and projected growth of our church, Church Council and the Finance Committee are confident in this budget for Faith. The estimated actual shortfall this year is slightly less than budgeted for comparison purposes, removing depreciation expense of $108,000 that was not budgeted and taking into account the change in how pastor support revenue is recorded. If you have any questions, I am unfortunately not here to answer them. However, Janet Peterson and Scott Rice are here for those questions. I'm available later to discuss your questions. Thank you for your support as we experience exciting new ministries and growth as Faith continues to love and serve God and all others. Thank you.